Your Excellency, the Ambassador, distinguished guests, panelists, participants, and colleagues. Welcome to this second webinar of the Nepal Dialogue UK organized by Center for Nepal Studies UK. My name is Krishna Adhikari. I'm the convener of the webinar series. I will be moderating today's session. Our team in the Nepal Dialogue UK includes Naresh Khapangi Magar, who is a co-convener. Lokendra Dhakal is the Executive Director of Center for Nepal Studies UK, Dr. Sangeeta Shrestha, Media Coordinator, and member Dr. Susma Basnet. And we have got our Center for Nepal Studies bigger team as well. Today, we will be briefly remembering Dr. Chandra Laxamba as we had his fourth death anniversary last week. And our guest of honor, His Excellency Chandra Kumar Khimire, Nepalese ambassador to the UK, will be giving introductory remarks. And he's not a panelist today, and there won't be any question directed to him. Then we will start our panel discussion. Let me bring you a small file here. Right. I hope my screen is shared. Can somebody confirm? Say yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you. Right. Center for Nepal Studies UK established in 2007, and Dr. Chandra Laxamba was a founder who sadly passed away due to COVID infection on 26 January 2021. He was a retired Gurkha soldier himself and academics, lastly serving as a professor at Nepal Open University, Kathmandu. To commemorate his life and celebrate his contributions, we have published a book called From Taplejung to Oxford, The Multidimensional Life and Writings of Dr. Chandra Kumar Laxamba. Many of you who are in Gurkha services and campaigns might recognize that Chandra has made a great contribution to this field, and he participated in many of the dialogues between Nepal, Britain, and Gurkhas, the tripartite committees and technical committees. To mark his fourth anniversary, Punyatithi, of his passing away, we are making this, his book, the book published on him. We're making this open access. So I would like to request our guest of honor, His Excellency Ambassador, to kindly make this book publicly available by pasting the link to the chat room. Sangeeta ji also will be helping. So you will be able to download the book and use it. Thank you. With this, let me stop the sharing. This is our honor to have the newly appointed Nepali ambassador to the UK, His Excellency Chandra Kumar Khimire, as our guest of honor. And thank you for helping us to bring this book to the public. I hope it's been pasted in the chat. If not, then our colleagues will help. So now I would like to call upon His Excellency to make a brief introductory remark.
MP Ms. Alex Baker, Councillor Mr. Alex Crawford, distinguished panelists, dear participants, very good morning and namaste. It is a profound privilege to participate in this timely and very significant discussion organized by the Center for Nepal Studies UK today. Without further ado, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers, particularly to Mr. Krishna Adhikari, for their unwavering commitment to coordinating this monthly dialogue series. by inviting the stakeholders and the prominent figures from the relevant sectors. The history of bravery, commitment, and sacrifice would be incomplete without acknowledging the contributions of the Gurkhas. Their legacy is etched in history, having made indelible marks during critical moments when the global order faced peril. Their steadfast loyalty and sacrifices have been pivotal in upholding democracy, the rule of law, peace, and the norms of coexistence during challenging times. Despite their extraordinary contributions, it is a stark irony that some of their legitimate demands for fair and equal pension rights and other grievances are long outstanding. These demands are substantiated by the Tripartite Agreement of 1947, which was signed by the United Kingdom, Nepal, and India. This treaty has affirmed that Gorkha troops are an integral and distinguished component of the British Army, and by that virtue, it has been succinctly stated that the Gorkha troops should be treated on the same footing as the other units within the parent army. We highly appreciate the British government for ensuring that all individuals who had joined the army after 1 October 1993 are afforded the same rights as their British counterparts. Nevertheless, the issues faced by those who enlisted between 1 January 1948 and 30 September 1993 remain still unaddressed. Negotiations are ongoing, of course, and a two-tier mechanism has been established for this purpose. It is our firm belief that the alternative to negotiation is improved or better negotiation. Solutions arise from engagement rather than disengagement. However, success counts on our commitment to address issues as promptly as possible. Therefore, we are opposed to any delays in resolving grievances, if any there. Our optimism remains fairly high, bolstered by the considerable goodwill and support imbued with British society, including its political sphere, for resolving the ex-Gurkha grievances. The participation of Madame Baker in today's dialogue exemplifies this spirit of support. This is certainly a significant compliment. Thank you so much, Madam. Let us all collaborate with utmost sincerity and generosity to ensure that the earliest resolution can be harvested in the near future. With this motivation, I would like to extend my heartfelt wishes for the success of this webinar. Additionally, I am hopeful that the discussions will offer a more favorable environment for negotiators so as to pave the way for a meaningful breakthrough. Thank you.
Now, I would like to proceed to our today's panel discussion. The panel is about, I don't know why this echo is coming. I'm unable to resolve this. Is anyone on mute here? Please, can you mute? Let me mute all.
So I think the answer may be that everyone has to mute, otherwise these echoes occur.
Yeah. I have used this mute all, but I don't want to lose time.
Or
Okay.
maybe, or Dr. Krishna, maybe somebody is using two appliances like mobile and laptop. Looks like some
Yeah, okay. If anyone using two devices at a time, may I request you please kindly use only one. Stay muted all the time and never unmute unless you have been requested. Thank you. Let me now proceed to our panel discussion. I can hear a little bit echo, but I'm unable to resolve this. But I hope it's not very disturbing. The panel today we're discussing is resolving ex-Gurkha grievances, progress and possibilities. We have lined up for excellent panelists. Please note this is not a debate, nor is this a hard talk. This is also not a panel designed to represent different Gurkhas or political groups. This is a part of a small academic exercise, but today concentrating on practical issue concerning the ex-Gurkhas, thus Nepal and the UK. The aim is to keep all concerned individuals and institutions informed of the issues, progresses, and do some thinking on what can be done to resolve the grave issues facing the Gurkhas. This is a very brief discussion, and we might not be able to discuss all the issues concerning the ex-Gurkhas. And our format is our panelists will be making initial statements, presentation not exceeding for 5 minutes. Participants, please stay muted all the time. Please put your questions via chat room only. Keep them brief. Please indicate which of our panelists is your question directed. Please note we will do our best to discuss your question, but it may not be possible to deal with all the questions, comments. We may take them in a more representative collective basis. I have also made our panelists aware and asked them to be flexible in terms of time. If there is a huge interest, maybe we might extend this discussion by 15 minutes, but our aim is to complete it by 30 if possible. Let me introduce our panelists today. Alex Baker, MP from Aldershot, the town which is the home of the largest number of Nepalese in the UK. And in a sense, the cultural capital of Nepal in the UK, because it hosts all the Buddhist and Hindu shrines, and we can find all cultural elements in Aldershot. Rossmore Borough Council has the highest Nepali population in the UK. Alex is the chair of the all-party parliamentary group on Nepal, hence a very important person when it comes to dealing with issues related to Nepalese or Gurkhas in the UK. If my colleagues could pin panelists, that would be great. Thank you. And we have got Alex Crawford, who is our long-term friend, and he's a councillor of Aldershot North Division, Hampshire County Councillor, Wellington Ward, based in Aldershot and is in Rossmore Borough Council. He's the founder of We Love the Gurkhas group, and We Love the Gurkhas page on Facebook, which has a huge number of following. I don't know why this echo is killing us. We have got Major Jud Bahadur Gurung, who is an ex-Gurkha. And has been working as a negotiator on the British Gurkha case, also acting as the secretariat of the Gurkhas. He has taken part in all meetings between the UK and Nepal government on the ex-Gurkha issues. Right. Our fourth panelist is Pramila Van Omen Tamang. She is the director of Gurkha Equal Rights, a civil society organization. She is a PhD scholar and previously served in the Britain Nepal Academic Council as its member in the executive committee. I welcome all four panelists, and I will ask our panelists to make brief remarks. I will be calling each one of them myself. And please make very brief, but do not exceed more than 5 minutes. So we have first panelist, Permila. Thanks to our ambassador's presentation, which shares background about the Gurkha issues. And Permila would be giving brief overview about the grievances. She has a PowerPoint. Let me share them. I hope I will be. Oh, maybe shall I ask? Permilaji, can I ask you to share it from your end? Is it possible?
Hi, are you all able to see the
Hello?
screen? Yes, can you see the screen? Have I done the screen sharing?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, it's just it's open. So you should be able to view the slide, right? Okay. Sorry. Is that better?
Yes, I can see that.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. I'm just here to give a brief overview of what the issues are and the background of the grievances. Any questions can be put forward in the chat later on. So this is just a brief Gurkha case overview. And as His Excellency, the Ambassador, has said, our issue stems also from looking at the tripartite agreement and, where it says in all matters of promotion, welfare, and other facilities, Gurkha troops should be treated on the same footing as other units in the parent army. Now, why this agreement, which some people may not be familiar with, is important is because this was, the formation of the Gurkhas came through a diplomatic treaty. And so it is because that the formation of the Gurkhas are through this way that the Gurkhas are seeking political solutions. Now, there have been over 34 years of Gurkha justice campaigns. There's been 2 hunger strikes and also a pending case at Nepal Supreme Court at the moment by a Gurkha group to pause British Gurkha recruitment unless the pension issue is resolved. Now, what are the grievances is what I will briefly go through. So some of the grievances that you can see are not just all about pensions. There is, number one, the pension disparity, where Gurkhas who served between 1948 and 1993 receive significantly lower pensions. There's also the unequal costs of living and pay during their service. So on average, Gurkhas were paid 16 times less than their British counterparts. There is the gender discrimination. Widows of Gurkha veterans do not receive the same pensions as British widows, and unequal rewards for facing unequal danger. So basically, Gurkhas fighting the same wars were paying much less. There is also the issue of NI contributions. Gurkhas were provided with dummy national insurance numbers and also paid tax during service in the UK. But because of these mix-ups, these has created complications in calculations, as well as the feeling that paying tax should make them eligible for British state pension. There's also the issue of unfair redundancies. Gurkhas, for example, those who were used to quell the Malaysian insurgents and fighting wars were sent back home without any compensation or pensions. There's also the issue of forced family separation and unpaid leave. Unlike their counterparts, Gurkhas were allowed only one family tour every 3 years, leading to prolonged family separation. So it's also thinking about psychological effects within the homes that have been greatly affecting Gurkhas. There's also the historical religious discrimination as well. Restrictions on marriage. Gurkhas were not allowed to marry non-Nepalis, or they could be kicked out the army, and forced participation in Hindu rituals. Some were also dismissed due to conversion to Christianity. This also leads to thinking through racial discrimination. Gurkhas were forbidden to marry non-Nepalis, or they'd be automatically dismissed from army service. As mentioned before, misleading information from the government. The government always likes to, the British government likes to quote percentage increase on pensions, but they don't really actually reveal how much the pay is. So when the MOD likes to talk about a 200% uplift, it sounds much better than, you know, saying somebody's being paid now £20 a month rather than £10 a month. And we also have the issue of the wounded and dead. Gurkhas injured or killed in action before 1997 are denied medical or pensions. The scope of the period to be covered in the talks that are now going to resume primarily concern the Gurkhas who enlisted between the 1st of January to 1948 to the 30th of September 1993. So that's very important because in a lot of debates, people are always talking about 1997 and the Hong Kong issue, but that is not the case, which will be explained further. I here now show you a slide which gives you an idea of the pension disparity, where some, you know, could be up to almost 1,000%. You can see here a 948% increase. There are also other issues such as the Hawaii incident, which is part of the unfair redundancies, where many were dismissed without a fair investigation, and also issues of indefinite leave for resettlement for those in less than 4 years service, because that was, you know, they had agreed in their contract, but they were discharged against their will. So now we hope to look for phases towards solutions. And it's really important that seeing that list of grievances that I've just shown, that pensions are the heart of the Gurkha case. Thank you.
Dr. Krishna, sorry, you are mute.
All
Can
right,
we
thank
ask?
you. Thank you.
Can we ask the question now or later?
No, please. You need to type your questions in the chat room. But I would like to have all the panelists finish their initial remarks, and then we'll take questions and discuss them. So now I would like to request Alex Crawford to briefly present about the context for and contributions of, you know, We Love the Gurkhas. You know, some observations on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krishna. I have to say that I came to the Gurkha issue by chance about 20 years ago when I was an employment advisor at Citizens Advice Bureau in Aldershot. And Gurkha Gyan Sherchan came to see me, and he had 29 years service, but he was being paid a pension that was only worth about 7 years pension of the British equivalent rank. And of course, that was completely unacceptable. But despite all going through all the official procedures, we were hardly able to make any improvement. There was some small improvement, but nothing significant really. So at that point, I began to be involved through the Labour Party with our parliamentary candidate, and we did a petition around Aldershot Garrison. Hundreds of homes around there with troops from all parts of the country, all parts of the Commonwealth, and everyone signed the petition calling for equal pensions for the Gurkhas. The petition went national, and we then, at the Labour Party conference, presented it to the then Veterans Minister, Derek Twigg. That didn't work. We got batted back on that. And then I joined the Gurkha Justice Campaign, which was being led by Peter Carroll from Kent. And eventually that was headed up by Joanna Lumley, which succeeded in getting the vote through Parliament for Gurkha settlement rights in May 2009. So at that point, Gurkha veterans and their families started to arrive in Aldershot and Farnborough, where now, as you pointed out, about 12% of the population are now Nepali, and it is the largest concentration of Nepalis in the UK. As it happened, in 2012, I was Mayor of Rushmore, and I had the support of the British Gurkha Welfare Society, led by Tikendra Dewan, and I had as one of my charities Nepalese Help, set up to assist Gurkha veterans to settle in our area. At that point, I founded We Love the Gurkhas to ask people to welcome Gurkha veterans into our area. We also wanted the British government to give proper resources to provide the services that everyone requires, including what is needed for Gurkha veterans to live in dignity and peace in their retirement. I was fortunate enough to help the late Dr. Chandra Laxamba of the Centre of Nepal Studies, who produced sound data about Gurkha veterans and their rights to equal pensions and the other rights that we've heard from about this morning. We went to London, we briefed Kevin Jones, who's now Lord Beamish, who was then Shadow Minister for the Armed Forces, and he has always expressed interest in Gurkha issues. Over the past 20 years, through the Labour Party, I've continued to work for the equality that Gurkhas deserve. So finally, last year, I was delighted to play a part in the successful campaign to elect Alex Baker, our wonderful local Member of Parliament, from whom we will hear this morning. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Alex. May I now request Juda Bahadur ji to reflect on the progresses, particularly about reflecting on the ongoing negotiations between UK and Nepal government, including the Gurkhas representation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Krishna ji, and good morning to everybody. I will just be delving on the actual negotiation progress or non-progress, whatever you might want to call it. And we'll just go back to the 8th of September 2021, when a meeting was convened by the then ambassador, Lokdarshan Regmi, in the presence of Ben Wallace and Leo Doherty, who of course was the defense minister and veteran minister. And during that meeting, the Nepalese ambassador said in his speech that the talks will start December 2021 and will conclude by March 2022. He also said that we need to bring every single issue on the table so that there will be no more strikes. He also said that there will be give or take. But now, nearly 3.5 years later, we're moving at a snail's pace. MOD is actually providing talk dates after only repeated requests at very short notice. In fact, some agendas are only provided to us on the actual day. And some we had to go on TV before we can get any response. And the interval between talks were long delayed, and thus the time now. And of course, there was a couple where the death of the Her Majesty the Queen, and also the change of the Nepalese ambassadors. But the main issue was that the MOD could have done better, in my opinion. Now, the G2G talks needs to be resolved at the earliest at the dignity of the ex-British Gurkhas. They have suffered at the hands of the British government, notably MOD. So far, we've had 4 bilateral talks, and but out of those, we also had 4 home talks with the home ministers on immigration, which is also a very important issue. Coming back to that, the last bilateral talks was on the 27th of March 2024, when the veteran minister, Dr. Andrew Mirison, suggested that we come up with an affordable pension proposal. But then in between, we had the UK elections, followed by the change of ambassador. But having said all that, the main issue in question for all Gurkhas is the pension issue. And there are 2 main issues here. One is the Gurkha offer to transfer, which must be enumerated on one-to-one basis, simply because in the TPA, when Gurkhas from the Indian Army prior to 1948 had their service enumerated on one-to-one basis, as is enshrined on the TPA, where it says that for the purpose of pension and gratuity, that it should be enumerated on one-to-one basis. And there is also the Gurkha pension schemes, which also includes pension, redundancies, goodwill payments, state pension, among others. In 2000, Sir John Speller reviewed the Gurkha pension scheme after the death of Sergeant Balaram Rai and Lieutenant Gareth Evans by the same bomb, and the stark difference in death gratuity reminded the world of how Gurkhas were treated. There was an increase of 200% in comparison to the Indian Army pension. In the 6th IPC, our pension was above this mark, but after the 7th IPC, Indian Pay Commission, this was pegged down to 140%. This should be honored on the 200% as a starter. This increase was termed as welfare upliftment. So therefore, we should not be saying about retrospective and all that, because there is a solution in that we can solve within our calling it a different name. We must have facts before we can move on, as the minister said, affordable pension. But how do we do that? So, and the other thing is that when Derek Twigg, nothing changed in 1997, as has been mentioned by Premila. Because
Major Saab, sorry to interrupt. Can I ask you to wrap up in 1 minute? Maybe I thought you would say something about the negotiation, if any progresses, but we can discuss more in the question and answer as well.
Yeah. So therefore, what we need to do now is that we will be asking MOD for facts, some facts, and after that facts, we believe that the actual pension liability is not into billions. It is a manageable amount, and once we have that figure, it is also a decreasing liability, and hence this should be a political and diplomatic solution rather than go on about courts and of course a retrospective. But retrospective has already been done in 2000 anyway. So our request is that we should find a solution within a step period so that we can now put this to bed permanently. Thank you.
Thank you, Major Judha. Now I would like to request Alex Baker to give general observations and also on taking role of the chair of the all-party parliamentary group in Nepal, because he represents the largest number of the ex-Gurkha constituents. Her observation on the issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Namaste. It's great to be with you this morning. Firstly, can I say to Your Excellency, welcome to the UK. It's fantastic to have you with us, and I'm really looking forward to working with you in the years ahead. Also, thank you to the Centre for Nepal Studies for inviting me. Can I also start by saying a huge thank you to both Major Judd and to Kendra Duran, who have been counsel to me through these issues, and I have got so much from their advice and their time they've given me to get me up to speed with the issues, alongside Alex Crawford, who has played a huge role in flying the flag for these issues for many years, and he again has been a huge help to me in getting up to speed. I'm incredibly proud to be the chair of the all-party parliamentary group for Nepal. I think it is really important that we have the strongest possible APPG to support, obviously, the the issues we've talked about already today. I spent the day last week with the Queen's Own Gurkha Brigade in Aldershot, learning all about logistics. And, you know, it was clear from that day I spent with the brigade, how what an important role they play within the British Army. And I think, arguably a more and more important role, particularly in the world, the dangerous place the world is as we stand. I think, for me, the case is clear. And I think you as a community have done a great job in getting to a point where you have a very clear argument set out on paper that obviously is absolutely key to the negotiations. Obviously, talks have not been happening, and we've had a change of government. There's been a lot going on, and obviously also the change of the ambassador. So it's really great now that actually we can push forward, and I'm hoping that the official talks will start up quite quickly now. I think for me there is a really important part of this is building a public campaign alongside the official talks. And so one of the things that I want to do is to tell the story of Gurkha veterans and the implications that these, the pensions and all the issues we've talked about had on your lives. Those are the story. Those are the stories that we need to tell. When the historic victory came through, obviously, partly, Joanna Lumley using her public profile, and we, whilst we don't have, maybe Joanna Lumley, with quite so much profile, there are people that myself and others who have some public profile who can use our voices, tell, but we need your stories to tell. And so I've been working with a Major Judden team, and Tikendra, and working with them to build this encyclopedia of stories that I can go into the chamber and tell. And I've got a great team in Parliament. There's lots of other MPs that are supportive of these issues, and I am working with them. If you haven't talked to your Member of Parliament recently, please do write to them and ask them to join the all-party parliamentary group. It is really important we get as many members and as much engagement as possible, and that is something MPs have got lots of issues coming at them, so they need to hear from you why this is important, and hopefully that will give them the push to come and get on board with the campaign. So now that the ambassador is here, I will be working with him to make sure we use our voices. I would say, the government, I know that obviously talks have happened in the past, but I think there does need to be an acknowledgement that this is a new government. And, whilst I know that you want to make progress quickly, this new government is, it takes time for a new government to settle in. You will have a new ministerial team. I would say the ministerial team we've now got in place, I would say, really do understand these issues. I have a great relationship with the Secretary of State, John Healey. He obviously came and campaigned, and he spoke to Major Judden and some other Gurkha veterans before as part of my campaign. We've also got Minister Al Khans, who obviously served himself. He again really understands the role the Gurkhas have played within the army. So I think he he will be an ally, but this government has got some real challenges, a huge black hole, that, and I'm not saying that is going to stop us making progress, but, it is something that, will slow us down. Obviously, the department at the moment has got the SDR, the defence review happening. That is going to be a big thing, and we've got the comprehensive spending review coming up. So the government is really trying to work out what money it needs to spend. I will be writing to the Secretary of State because obviously the comprehensive spending review is an opportunity for the government to allocate money. So I will be writing as the chair of the APPG in the next couple of weeks to the Secretary of State to make the case why money should be allocated, because they are allocating money for this right now. But I would say my last point. I know that you guys have got lots of options in terms of the campaign. I know that hunger strike is something that is talked about. My plea is to give this government a bit of time to sort out these issues before you jump into the most drastic of action. I think we've got to sort of make sure we go through the process of going through the less drastic steps, and leave that really as a last resort. So yeah, I would just beg that you give us some time to support you with the negotiations and see if we can find a way to resolve this without you having to take those sorts of drastic steps.
Many thanks for the elaborative observations and a kind of action you're taking, and also the idea of possibilities, which we will also discuss more later. So in the meantime, panelists can also, start looking at the chat room. There are some questions there. We will also try to put them forth. I can see there are some points for clarification to Pramila about the Guptaman has said that the 3 years of accompanying service in 15 years is not the 7. I think this is just a matter of clarification, which is fine. And Lakshya Gurung also corrected, saying that I think is enlisted is a better word than served. I think that's the essence there. I would like to come to Juddha ji as a negotiator. I mean, we had many aspirants and very good people who we couldn't bring to the panel today. Obviously, there's no time for this, but I think we need some kind of the elaborate, comprehensive program in the summer where we can physically meet and bring people like Tekendra Devan and others, who participate in hunger strikes and so on. But the question about Juddha ji being a negotiator, I think he's a negotiator. He's not the negotiator. I think, as far as I know, there are many Gurkhas who also represented and were given the opportunity to take part. Even though this is the talk between Nepal and UK government, the Gurkhas are the ones who basically force both governments to and influence the both governments to discuss about this issue, and part of the if you like tripartite talk. Juddha ji, can I ask you to highlight a little bit about the progress? And at the moment, the talk between the two governments is on hold. How long it is going on and what's happening? And also maybe if you like to clarify, why do you think you are a negotiator? Because there's a question here. Juddha ji, can you come forth? Thank you.
Yes, I can. As I said, because of the UK election, and also because they changed the Nepalese ambassador, that is why there has been a delay, because this is a government-to-government talk, and we do need a government representative. We just can't do the talks on our own without the presence of His Excellency, the ambassador from Nepal to UK. And that is the reason why there's been a slight delay. Now, going on, as I said, from the last ministerial talk, 27th of March, when the previous veteran minister, Dr. Andrew Murison, has said that he's proposed that we come up with an affordable one. And my take on that is that we need some facts, which we're going to request. And I've spoken that with Alex Baker as well, how we can achieve that. Then with those facts and figures, we need then to find a solution. We have presented every single issue in detail to the Minister of Defense, to the talks. So therefore, that now we need to resolve and find out solution within 6 months or something, because this has been dragging on and on and on to the detriment of all British ex-Gurkhas. So that's how I see it. As I said, within 6 months we should solve it, and it's there staring at us, and it just needs the will of the British government, and together with the Nepalese government, it can be solved.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I think there are many questions here directed to the MP herself. She's a new MP, and she has given a great thought, took leadership. Maybe I don't think she needs to or will be able to answer all the questions here. The point about contention. The last time I met the previous ambassador, Gurkhas have pursued various avenues. They've been to the court, and they pushed through the street, and diplomatic solution is what everyone is looking forward. But it is taking so long time. Is the British government taking this, somehow the strategy of appeasement, delaying, and there are most suffering Gurkha classes here. If you like, the 1960s, people who were engaged in the Borneo and East Asia, who got nothing and were made to leave service without any reward or pension. And we can see that the large number of these elderly Gurkhas are dying every day. So what can we do basically to expedite these processes? Is anything happening here, or it is not? In one sense, it may be a matter of money and compensation or recognition. On the other, it can be a matter of dignity and equality. But is there any meeting point here? Anybody in the panel can give their views, but Major, you have been, in the negotiations. That what are the contentions there? Can you briefly summarize maybe in one line? And I would like all the panelists to jump in at this point.
The British government has been quoting the court cases and the retrospective in all the talks that we've had. We believe that, firstly, it is not a court case solution, because this is a political and diplomatic solution that we're after. In the very last talk, after there's a technical group, even after the 27th of March 2024, a lady lawyer came in and spelled out all those legal aspects of things, and I had to stop her and say, we're here to find a political solution, and she agreed with me that we cannot find. So therefore, it is between the two countries, not so much India, but between Nepal and Britain. So therefore, we got to get away from these court cases and all that. And of course, the court case, was not agreed by everybody. It was put in by one organization. So therefore, we were not privy to what the court case was. So therefore, we don't recognize that at all. So therefore, that's the first thing. And the retrospective element that they've been harking on about, it doesn't ring any bell, because at the end of the day, in 2000, John Spaller's report did increase pension by 200%, although they called it the welfare upliftment. And we can do the same thing now to resolve all these issues. And of course, the other thing that they are saying is, of course, if we were to revisit our pension issues, others will make a hue and cry about it. But of course, ours is a different case together, we believe, totally. And we were underpaid. We can't go back to all those elements and the discrimination that happened within the Gurkhas for all those years. We just now need to move forward and resolve the main issue, the pension, which has been eluding us for now 34 years. And it needs to be put to bed. And that is the most important thing. There are other issues there, but those will fall into place once we solve the pension issue.
Right. Can I stop you there? Thank you. I think Alex Crawford, the councillor, would like to add something.
Yeah, thank you very much. I have to say I don't have any, if you like, official status in all of this, so perhaps I feel able to make a comment. It does seem to me that, as always in these kinds of negotiations, it depends on goodwill. And my experience of dealing with the Defence Secretary is that he has goodwill towards the Gurkhas and their issue. And so it does seem to me it depends a bit, as our MP Alex Baker was saying, is using the, if you like, the powers that she has through the all-party parliamentary group with her parliamentary colleagues to build on that goodwill and to bring things forward. And there doesn't seem to me any other way of doing politics other than that. I mean, I've been along this track for the last 20 years ago. I've always opposed anything resort to the courts and that kind of thing, because at the end of the day, when it comes to these things, it depends on how the respective parties get on when it comes to negotiations, and that's how I would see it. I don't know anything about politics very much in Nepal, so I don't know how well disposed the government of Nepal is towards, but it sounded from the new ambassador as if he's extremely well disposed as well. So we're in a good place. It's just simply, as Alex Baker has said, is marshalling the contributions together to enable it to happen, particularly given the fact that our government is facing extremely difficult financial circumstances. The Ministry of Defence, for example, is under a lot of pressure to increase the proportion of GDP allocated to defence from 2.5% to 3%. And, this has to be seen in the context of the challenges facing the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, as she tries to find a way forward for the economy as a whole. So we have all of these difficulties, but it's a question of building on the goodwill, providing the cases as we see them a lot of how people are suffering because they're not getting the rights to equal pensions and other compensation that they were due. So that's how I would see it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, and your views as a civil society and local government also, does matter. And you have seen so much, in the past 30 plus years. Initially we have here, I think Uday Bahadur Gurung has asked, many questions. He posted many things in the chat, and he has referred to the 1947 TPA clause. In all matters of promotion, welfare, and other facilities, and the Gurkha troops should be treated on the same footing as the other units in the parent army, so that the stigma of mercenary troops may for all time be wiped out. And the response that time, as a part of the integral part of the British Army, which British accepted that they would be treated as such, and provided equal resources, with some limit, provided that there is a, resource limits and so on. these are the clauses there of the equality, and the Gurkhas are demanding for. And there are many points here directed towards the MP. Do you have anything to respond and add here? Well, my colleague Lokendra Dakal, I've asked him to synthesize some of those. He might come later, but is there anything you'd like to respond?
I mean, on the point, why were we not treated equally? I'm probably not the right person to answer that question. There are others that will have more expertise on that. I don't know the detail of what went on really. All I am here to do is to represent you in the present and the future, and all I can give you is myself and my voice, and I will do that for every day that I am the MP for Aldershot. And I want to use every day to forward this agenda. In terms of the other I think there's quite a few things where I don't know the detail, but what I would say from reading the chat is, in the chat you've begun to tell your stories, and that is what I need, because whilst you have got the very best negotiators, obviously in His Excellency and Major Judd. I don't, I think it is going to need some political will to win this argument beyond just what is on paper in the negotiations. So I think it is going to need, backbench MPs, probably backbench Labour MPs to be able to, be saying to the ministers in the MOD, this is really important. Whilst the change of government will have made a difference, it is still the same civil servants that will be, processing this negotiation in the department, and they have obviously taken a view. They are, as much as you are saying that you don't recognise the court case, they do recognise the court case. They are using that. And so we have got to find a way to build this campaign beyond just the 35 points or whatever it is that you have set out. And that is where, people like I can use my voice and my colleagues, and that point that if there is anything, if you're going to do one thing today to help this cause, it is writing to your MP and asking them to get involved in the all-party parliamentary group, because it is going to need, every voice we can get in Parliament to, encourage colleagues basically, and to, get the ministers to make the right decision on this. I mean, in the chat, some of the points that have been made, there was obviously Christina about the psychology. I think that's the story we need to tell. That's a really good example of actually the mental health issues that have come from this, the challenges. So if any Gurkha veterans that have got stories that are living in poverty or have really suffered, really difficult circumstances because of what they have been through, please do get them to share their story. You can either do that directly with me or through Major Judd or through to Kendra or, whoever it is, because, I want to basically go into the chamber, tell your story, because it's so much harder for a minister to discount the case when it is about real people's lives, basically. So it's pulling on those the heart of the ministers, basically. They know what role the Gurkhas have played historically, and they know what the Gurkhas do for us today. That is, the sort of pressure that I think could make a difference in this argument.
Yes, can I just add, Krishna ji?
All right, go ahead.
I totally agree with Alex Baker there, and that is one of the things we are now setting out to do. That firstly, we need to target all members of the all parliamentary party group and brief them, as we have briefed a couple of the members, and then get them on board, and then to expand to all other members of parliament, especially where there are Gurkhas, and that will be the impetus to go on. Now, the other thing is, of course, with the Nepalese government, we are talking, and as you mentioned in one of those talks, we want the foreign minister's involvement, and we're actively talking to her to get, and she has indicated that she will get involved, and it has to be a foreign policy, because MOD is like an internal discussion rather than a diplomatic and political. And unless we get the ambassador involved, and within her, she will then delegate. One at the moment is the ambassador, but if there are others involved, and the other thing is, of course, there is an all-party parliamentary group in Nepal as well. Whether we link up with the all-party with Alex Baker and the other team, which I have mentioned to Alex in my brief to her, whether that might also help. So we need to get the two governments together and really get the core issue in, and how to resolve the whole thing once and for all.
Right. Thank you, Major Saab. Parmilaji, would you like to add anything here?
Yes, I'd just like to add on to what all panelists have talked about in this, in terms of thinking about goodwill, and what Krishnaji has also mentioned, that it seems like there's this tactic of appeasement, because for the past few years, since the second hunger strike, as an external observer, I have seen how different MPs from all different parties in the UK have all talked of this goodwill, and how Britain owes a huge debt to the Gurkhas, and yet these delays continue. Even the same MPs who talk about how wonderful it was for the 200 years of service that the Gurkhas have served the crown. At the same time, they say, no, but we can't delve into retrospective pensions. No, we can't do the court cases. And so it keeps going around in circles. And as external observer, what I've seen is that, these dialogues, as Major Judd has mentioned, could happen in a much shorter time. And what's happened is that often there's been actually a huge degree of unprofessionalism from the MOD, which feels to me as an external observer quite disrespectful, both to Nepal's sovereignty and to the Gurkhas. Because, at this level where it is bilateral talks, G2G meetings, Gurkhas nor the Nepali embassy should not be given an agenda for what happens on the meeting on the day of the meeting, or should not be told the night before that there's a meeting the next day. And these kind of things have happened constantly, which has given very little faith to Gurkhas that this talks will progress. And so we hope with the new government that there actually is going to be a degree of respect in the way the meetings are conducted and set out, that people shouldn't be going to the media, going to Sky News, and then the MOD suddenly gives a date for a meeting. It shouldn't be like this on a professional level. Another thing I'd just like to add is some of the questions that people have been posing about, or maybe wondering about how the meetings are. I will put in the chat group, all the minutes of the meetings from the MOD are public, and I have posted them online. So I will post the link online for anybody who wants to be able to, go through the nitty-gritty of what was said, who said what in what meeting. So these have always been public and transparent, as well as a newly updated report. So I'll put that in the chat for everybody, if anybody wants to download them or look at them.
Can I just mention that I will pick up with the with the minister about just making sure that agendas are circulated, and that point. I've got Minister Khan's is a military man, and he has high expectations. So I will just convey to him how important it is that that the meetings are conducted with maximum respect, and he is a very respectful man himself, and I think he will completely get that. So I'm hoping that you will have a different approach moving forward.
Thank you. We have various kind of questions related to inequalities or mistreatment in one way or other. I don't think we'll be able to take all those and respond on them. Respond to them. We have already had a good remarks from the MP regarding how this, Gurkha's voices could be heard better. What can each one of us could do, collecting our stories and writing to our MPs and the local councils, for their support to raise the issue in the right places and amplify this. I think this relates to the question also asked by Bojraj, who is also ex-Gurkhas and also financial professional. He says that this has gone too far, too long, with too little results. It is because we haven't been able to pick the right people in right place. But what's going on? Are we able to make the government aware of the issue? And Laksha Gurung also echoes to this one, this question.
Can I come in? Can I come in?
Yes.
So, I think what you have to do is to put what has gone on in the context of what has gone on nationally. We have had a government, the previous government, you have seen, they didn't deliver on a huge amount of things in this country. They promised this country 40 new hospitals. There was not funding for a single new hospital, when the health secretary went into the department. So, unfortunately, we have had, a situation where the previous government did not live up to any of its promises. And I think you have to put, your negotiations into that context. Ultimately, unfortunately, you were negotiating with a government that was, from everything I can see, not a good faith partner. So, I think, we have to sort of draw a line under that. And, whilst we're not starting from scratch, I think, that was my point in my initial words, was that, we have to go into this, on the basis that we're building a relationship with a new partner, and whilst I do hope that we can make progress in the time that Major Judd has set out, the 6 months, I think you have to be, I think we have to be mindful that it might take a bit longer than that. But, as I said, all I can give you is myself, and I will be with you on this journey, and I will do everything I can to make sure we make progress, as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Alex, the MP, can I also ask you to take notes of various useful comments put forth by Udibada Gurung? I think they are more for information rather than questions. He also has been, engaging about the rights of the certain section of the Gurkhas, who have got different problems there. We have Samuel Reddy, who is a Commonwealth veteran. He also is putting some visa issues about the Commonwealth soldiers and drawing attention of the MP, so which you can take note of. Dilip has asked about, I think it's maybe to Judah and everyone. So are maybe Gurkha asking a big amount of money, or is there something you can reduce so that a kind of the solution can be reached? So is the finance is it's been already highlighted about the finance by the MP, and we have been working on Gurkha cases for the past 20 years, and we always see one a big economic problem or other. And should Gurkha really be worried about that bigger economic picture? And also, in Center for Nepal Studies UK's report, we have basically suggested that maybe the government is paying the Gurkhas in, through the dole money or other things. Can we not, give that money as a dignified entitlement so that they feel dignified, so that they can take it from anywhere, so that they are, free to go back to Nepal if they like. So is that money is a huge issue here, or are we really not thinking about the crux of the problem? Does anybody like to add anything on to?
Yeah, can I jump in there,
Yeah.
Chris? Firstly, we have calculated some couple of years ago in my 2018 report to say that the cost of actually maintaining Gurkhas husband and wife, which runs to about £33,000 per year. And we said, rather than that, give them that dignity and give them the pension so they can go back to Nepal. They have a choice, because obviously they're going to stay here and they can't be away more than 28 days to have a claim to that. Now, they have said that is a different department. And this is where the issue is. MOD are saying that's a different department and we cannot do that. So that's where it's gone. The other thing about the pension and what it is obviously I've just mentioned on the 27th of March, the minister has said that the, it's just affordable. But what is affordable? And so therefore we need facts. That's what I'm saying now. What is the liability at the moment? And then the first shot has to come from MOD, obviously, because we don't know what it is, and that is where the negotiations start. But without giving us anything, some sort of a line to say, okay, we'll start negotiation on a figure and that sort of thing. Of course, Ben Wallace has said at the beginning there will be give or take. But unfortunately, they've been saying that because of the court cases, because of the retrospective, that they don't want to talk about pension at all. That's what's happening at the moment. And that needs to be stopped, and that needs to be moved forward.
Okay. Right. Maybe I think the brief time we have, is that something, Alex, the MP, would like to add anything there? I've seen you.
So, I mean, just on Major Judd's point, I am going to pick up with the MOD about, and this is a very classic government thing. The government departments work in silos, so they never actually talk to each other. And, Major Judd is absolutely right. If you add up the numbers, DWP plus the MOD, actually probably adds up to more than just it would cost to just give the pension. I think this government, from what I've seen so far, we've had 7 months of this government, and they are doing more than ever to try and break down those silos. That is what, when the government talks about its missions, what that is doing is it's bringing the different government departments around the table to achieve a collective goal. So there is much more sort of breaking down of those silos, but that is an argument I will be making to the MOD, that actually they need to work with the DWP on these issues to find a resolution, basically.
Right.
At the end of the day, I have mentioned that at the end of the day, it comes from the Treasury.
Yeah.
So, different department, yes, there. And I'm sure that if they sit down together, and that is one way of resolving the whole issue.
Yeah.
Right. There are more and more questions forthcoming, but I think we should be limiting them now.
Can I jump in, please?
Sorry, who is this?
This is Uday Bhaduguram, MBE.
Sorry. I didn't think we will be able to allow you to speak today.
Just 1 minute.
No, I'm sorry, because that would be unfair to others. We have said that the rule, but we have taken note of the many comments you have put. I think that there's a suggestion and information here.
I could not upload some of the messages I wanted to upload.
Please email them to the particular person. I'm sorry, sir, but I'm sure we'll have some other
I
time.
just wanted to have just a quick one.
No. That's not the rule. So sorry, I have to be fair. And thank you. I appreciate, and I know the wealth of information and engagement you have, but I appreciate for that. But I hope you understand, Major Saab. So here, I think the very short questions by Vishnu Upreti about the EU court case. What happens? The EU actually European court went against the Gurkha. That was raised by BGWS, and it said that yes, you can legally discriminate people, which I don't understand. How can you? Of course, you can legally discriminate people through affirmative action, but not the negative, punishments. That was the case there. Samudra Rai highlighted sexually abused cases. So there are many other things, Pramila and others highlighted, and we got a whole host of the list there. Tharkarana asks a question about the Nepalese elderly not being treated as equal citizens. And other one, raises problems about, through iPhone, about the hospital appointment and etc. Obviously, there is a, when we did a survey in 2019, getting access to the services, particularly due to the language barrier and also the waiting list and other things, it was a huge problems for the Gurkhas and Nepalese, and they were forced to go back to Nepal where they could, buy medical services with cheap prices.
Right.
And as we know that elderly Gurkhas, cannot pass these various tests to become British citizens. So they are and a large number of them are de-enfranchised. They cannot vote. They don't know what's going on around them. So how can we basically help them become an active part of the society at the elderly age that they migrate to the UK? And that's a question. Maybe I think maybe MP or Alex Crawford, you'd like to say a word. And
I mean, on any firstly, I think those stories again of where you're being discriminated against or where, the struggles, feed that into Major Judin to Kendra. Those are, stories that we should tell as part of our pensions campaign. On the actual issue, if you live in my constituency, I would want you to contact me, and I've got a team of people, caseworkers, who will help you to sort out. It is not acceptable that you are having that experience with the NHS or whatever public service. I am there to help resolve any of those situations. So if you live in my constituency, please do come to me on those issues. One of the things I'm hoping to do is to employ a Nepali speaker, because I know there obviously are some people in the community who can't speak to me directly, and I want to be able to have that direct relationship. So I'm hoping to have a Nepali speaker as part of my team who can pick up those issues. But if you live in another constituency, again, the same applies. All MPs, wherever you live, should have a casework team, and they should be able to help you with those issues. Apart from anything else, these are examples where the military covenant, the Armed Forces Covenant, the Armed Forces Covenant means that any serving personnel, any veteran, should never be discriminated against. That they should never be at a disadvantage. So where the covenant is not working, please do flag that to your MP. This government is about to put the covenant into law, which we're hoping will make a difference, and actually mean that it is taken more seriously. But yeah, in the meantime, please do use your members of parliament on any issues you've got with our public services, basically.
Right. Okay. Alex, the councillor.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, this is why in about 2010 they launched Madat Chamua Nepalese Help in Aldershot and Farnborough. So every once a month now they meet in Church Hall, probably 100, 150 Gurkha veterans and their wives, and they learn about how to make access to the services that they need, and that's helpful. There's also Rushmore Citizens Advice. They have 2 Nepali advisors who can help with anyone who wants to contact them with in Nepali language. Also, we are fortunate enough in Aldershot to have a Gurkha Welfare Advice Centre, and they will deal directly with Gurkha veterans and their issues. So there are a number of routes through, but it's always difficult because unless people can think themselves to express what their issues are that they think they could have help from it, it's difficult for them to communicate that. But I know, for example, outside Citizens Advice, Rushmore Citizens Advice in Aldershot, on one morning a week, there's probably, could be up to 20 people queuing outside there waiting to go and see the advice service and get the help that they need. But it is very difficult because there's so much need, and particularly people need access to so many services when they're elderly, as so many of them are in our area. Anyway, I hope that helps briefly, but there is also online, Citizens Advice have an online service for particularly Nepali language, which might be useful to some. But again, people need to be able to go online. And there is in our area, there's a youth organisation that called Project Together, and they will help elderly veterans and so on who need access through the internet, through their mobile phones and that kind of thing. So there are help available, but it's difficult when there is so much need. Okay, thank you very much.
Krishna ji. Krishna ji. Hello.
You're mute.
Krishna ji. Hello, Krishna ji.
Mirza Sahab, sorry, can you wait just a second? Sorry, I forgot to unmute. I don't want to take too much extra time, but we'll be extending
just
by 10 minutes. Yeah, all the panelists
up.
will have a chance to say final word. Mirza Sahab, just wait a second. Center for Nepali Studies UK has published a Gurkha pension report, which is freely downloadable. It has a lot of analysis about the various types of inequalities and campaigns. But on top of this, in 2019, we were commissioned by SAFA, the Forces Charity, to conduct a study about the needs of the elderly Gurkhas who moved to the UK. So we have identified the best practices there. We have also highlighted the problems and issues that. So I'll be happy to email that to MP and whoever are interested. We have not made this public yet, but we are soon going to be made this available open access online. So these best practices can be replicated, to look after the welfare of the elderly Gurkhas who already are here. And Bose-ji has given some suggestions about the, how the financial issue could be neutralized, by taking various strategies. While Chiranjeevi Paudel has asked about the UK government stand about Nepalese being retired in Nepal, the cost of living in Nepal being, smaller, and also Gurkhas getting immediate pension as opposed to the British soldiers. I think these are very technical things. The UK government's stance about Gurkhas being recruited in Nepal and retired in Nepal, I think no longer stands now, because the Gurkhas have moved to the UK and face the same cost of living and the quality of life in being in UK. And also this argument about, Gurkhas getting more than the Nepal Prime Minister is very, very insulting. But I don't think that's any new stand they're taking. Maybe they're taking something else. So I just wanted to flag that. And Samudra Rai also has asked the MP to take note of the sexually abused people. I think there are many, many big lists here, so to take note of. So can I now ask all our panelists to make final statement, maybe not exceeding 2 minutes, but if you can finish in 1 minute, that will be appreciated. And all other comments made here, we'll download and email them to our panelists. Maybe it's possible, can I ask our panelists to drop your email address to the chat so that people can take note of it and contact you. Thank you. So I will start from Major Judguru.
Thank you. My short and sharp is that the two government needs to take this very, very seriously. And if this is taken very seriously on a political issue, it can be resolved. Otherwise, we'll be going on and on about it. And then with all those old people that are most affected will have died, and it will be not what we wanted from the beginning. So I request both the government to take this seriously and to resolve it once and for all.
Thank you. Pramila?
I would actually like to request all Gurkhas to talk to their children. I mean, my campaign group is really focused on the youth, and it really impinges on what Ms. Alex Baker had talked about with the APPG Nepal, for everybody to be speaking to their MPs and their local MPs. Part of that process is actually for Gurkhas to speak to their children and to their grandchildren, many who are now British citizens. It's about getting involved in local politics within Britain to then add pressure on side of Britain and to the MOD in the negotiations with the G2G talks. So it is really important, because what I've seen is this huge disparity and lack of knowledge of the younger generations knowing about these issues, when those younger generations can also be able to write to their local MPs as well.
Thank you. Moving to Councillor.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add, really. I just feel that this forum has been very useful, and that I would perhaps like to see it come back in a few months' time to revisit and see how much progress has been made as a result of going forward in the ways that have been suggested. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, finally, to the MP to make your final remarks.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for including me. I think that Pramila's point on political engagement is really, really important. I am so proud to represent, 10,000 Nepalis in my community, but, actually we should have Nepalese voices within our political system. I will do my best to make your case, but the best people to make your case is you, and actually, it's how do we get Nepalese councillors, Nepalese members of parliament, that is the journey that I think we need to go on, because ultimately, not only might that help when it comes to this issue, but actually it's also how you will make sure that this never happens again, because actually if you've got voices part of the system, you can get on top of these issues before they become more of a problem, basically. So yeah, that would be my message to you. If anyone wants to speak to me about what that means in terms of the process you'd have to do to get involved, to stand as a councillor, and I know we've got some councillors on the call, so there are people in the community that have gone through that process, but I'm really keen to support more Nepalese people to be part of the system, basically.
Thank you. I think this is a very, very important issue, and it's a very huge issue. I don't know whether we have been able to cover all the questions there are many points here which are beyond the scope of today's panel discussion, but these are taken note of. And my apology if I forget to cover all of the questions here. But I think more or less they have been covered. And our sincere thanks goes to all the participants and the people who have put really good questions, comments, and information for us to consume and discuss. I would like to thank our guest of honor today, His Excellency Chandra Kumar Kimire, the ambassador. And I would like to also apologize for some technical difficulties that we faced in the beginning, but which we were able to sort them out. So please send your remarks, and we'll make a PDF and post into our website and other places. And I think it's very important to preach up there. And I could, hear that you were really making very good points there, at least as far as we're concerned about the Gurkha rights. And relation between two countries. And also thank you so much to the MP Alex Baker, who I think has taken this initiation of forming all-party parliamentary group in Nepal and taking the leadership as the chair. It's very, very important. I mean, I have experience of working with Jackie Duell Price, who was the chair of the all-party groups in Gurkha, and when Gyanraj Rai was, first staging hunger strike, and I was involved in the, the negotiation there. Then we had Birendra Sarman. Now, I think more rightly, the Alex Baker, representing the highest number of Nepalese living in a borough, which is Rossmore, and also being so positively put, taking things forward. We look forward to working with her, and I think everybody should join the forces, making this Gurkha case, grievances hard more so that appropriate, solution can come forth. Also, thank you to Alex Crawford, the counselor. He has taken many different roles. He has been our friend. He helped us with the when we were publishing that groundbreaking report on Gurkha pension policies, which has been viewed by 20,000 people. This was presented at the parliament when the discussion on Gurkhas was going on. This was also submitted in the European Court as an evidence. So this is a very important document. So thank you, Alex, for being there as a friend of Nepal. And when we had a difficult time in Aldershot and those areas, he bravely put this, we love the Gurkhas group, and this has been remarkable. And anything you write about the history of Nepalese, I think that comes to my mind. I would like to thank you, Judha Bahadur Gurung, the Major Sahib, who has been active in the the Gurkha cases. I hope he's not the only person who is active in the Gurkha cases, and that's we should take note of. But his contribution also are laudable. Thank you for your time coming here, making things clear and helping us with the discussion. And Parmila. Parmila is a very fantastic researcher. She has done a lot of work on youths and is always amusing and entertaining to listen to her present about the youth culture, in Nepalese youth culture in the UK. But this is now a different subject here. Thank you for coming here and summarizing the grievances. With this, I would like also thank to my colleagues. And the announcement I was going to make, there's been a small changes here. The next, our Nepal dialogue webinar will be on the 1st March, Saturday, 10 o'clock. Please come and join. We'll be advertising our link. And this is going to happen first Saturday of every month. So we'll be picking more subjects of diasporic interest, and we'll be bringing fresh academic research as well as issues of contemporary interest for discussion. Next talk was going to be delivered by Dr. Vishnu Preti on unraveling the principles and practices of evidence-based policy process in Nepal. He was the chair of the government think tank Policy Institute, but it seems some technical problems, so we'll have something in place. We are very keen to collaborate with other organizations and institutions. We're soon going to be collaborating with Huddersfield University with Professor Padam Simkhara and doing something on health. So your ideas, suggestions, and collaboration are very much welcome. we are hoping to launch soon our mailing list so that our targeted audience and participants can be reached directly. Thank you once again for being there, for your patience, and look forward to meeting you again. Thanks a lot. Goodbye, and have a good day and good weekend.
Thank you, Krishnaji.
So I'm going to stop the recording here, and also live. So please don't say anything. Live stream. Stop live stream.
Can we have the meetings large, longer than